things. And I'm so looking forward to this conversation. This is a very good person, a good person, an acquaintance of mine, and she's also a very important and impressive person in the community, and she has a lot to share with Listen Louisville today. Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Lisa.
Hi, how are you?
And I'm Lisa as well, but most of the time I go by Marie. And today we're going to talk about, what are we talking about today, Lisa?
We are talking about food waste.
Awesome, awesome. Now, just so that our listeners understand, here at Power 106 FMKY, this afternoon, this 12 to 1 slot is an informative slot. This is where we educate, we inform, and we want you to be transformed by the information that you get. So hopefully on your lunchtime and on your break, you want to be informed with some new mind-bending information or things that you may have thought about, never discussed, or may have had powwow discussions about it, but never came up with any real solutions. So here today, Lisa Williams and I, we're going to talk about food. F-O-O-D. We're going to talk about food, and like she said, food waste. Right now in the U.S., and the reason why we're talking about it, because we do a lot of outreach work individually, and we're in the community hard and heavy. We want to take care of our homeless. We want to get an understanding of their situations, and the equalizer, and most of the time in the bottom line is food access. And we understand that in the U.S., hunger stats show that over 40 million people struggle with hunger here in the U.S.
Yes.
Would you believe here in the U.S., we're the land of the plenty?
I wouldn't believe it. It's actually really shocking because you hear all of these things where you're like, oh, there's this available, there's that available. It's actually pretty scary to think that it's at a high number like that.
I can only imagine. I mean, let me rephrase that. I mean, this is a statistic that was taken in 2017. Okay. Here we are in 2020. And I'm pretty sure that number is just a guesstimate. Right. And it's sad. 40 million? 40 million. And just about how many millionaires do we have in the United States? Could you imagine? Could you imagine if we all pitched in, how that struggle could be eliminated and eradicated instantly?
Because we all deserve 3 meals a day.
Right.
And that the fact that there's a lot of people out there not getting that, and is very scary for me.
Yeah, it is. It is when you think about it and our priorities.
Right.
You and I had a conversation prior to us having this subject matter to talk about. We had a conversation which led to this.
Right.
And the conversation was how we waste food.
Oh, yeah.
And how our priorities have shifted. Most of the times you pay rent, you don't have food.
Yep. For our younger people, like some of our college students, it may be anything having to do with, whether they're going to get the new phone to fit in or whether they're going to pay their tuition. Do I have enough money to still get food and get that done, for our younger groups?
Right. And when I say about priorities, our priority to put food in its proper place and proper format, like you said, we are entitled to 3 meals a day.
Right.
Especially a college student who needs the energy to study, to think, you understand, and to be able to take care of day-to-day tasks. That's what that's what food is about. It's about energy.
Right.
And it also helps to relax us. What people don't understand, that's why God gave us food, gave us nourishment, things that we can use to comfort us, to give us rest. To give us strength, to give us the strength, and to also give us the rest. Excuse me, we started out tongue-tied today. But to get the message across is that we waste so much food based on our priorities, and our priorities have shifted. Like you stated, college students, they might want the latest and greatest gadget,
right.
And then they realize they go home, they have to be subjected to a dollar meal. They have to bum $1 just to get a $1 burger.
Yeah.
Where you can't get a plant-based meal for $1. You cannot get a plant-based burger for $1. You are not going to get that. You understand? And with food being defined, any nutritious substance that people or animals eat or drink that plants absorb in order to make that people absorb, in order to maintain life, growth, and also survival.
That's a great definition because I feel like a lot of people don't know that definition, as we had in the previous discussion. A lot of people don't understand that full definition.
Right.
We need to understand that in its full capacity and how that impacts us and how we use that definition.
Absolutely. It says to maintain life, growth, and also survival. And what we realize in this nation is that we have so many distractions. We have so many restaurants. We have so many ways to access food. We have trash receptacles. Mm-hmm. We have places where people can get food. You know, we have so much abundance of food, and we don't know where to place it. You know, and then people have to jump through hoops to get it.
Yes.
And that's what we want to eradicate as well. But Lisa, let me ask you this. With the information, just like base it on your life. Because I find myself guilty of this as well. Like you said, you go to work, you come home tired. The morning before you went to work, you might have placed something, took something out of the freezer, put it on the counter, let it thaw out, and then you get home, you're too tired to cook it.
Yes.
And then when you realize you're too tired to cook it is usually when you're in your vehicle driving home.
Yes, I am guilty. I'm very guilty of
So
that.
what do? You stop, get that Happy Meal. What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm wasting food because now I have set something out that I'm not going to cook. I'm wasting food because or money because I'm buying this food that I don't need. It's unhealthy for
right.
one. It's not going to help my body in any way, shape, or form other than to just simply give me unhealthy calories.
Right, empty calories.
Yeah,
right,
empty
right.
calories.
What we talk about.
Definitely though, waste. I mean, one of the things that I feel has kind of helped our
right.
community or our society is things like the what is it? The crock pots, the little
Instapot things like that. Right, gadgets.
Gadgets to make it easier to fix something quick. But there are things that people have been doing for a lot of time
right.
to make quick meals. We just have to focus on that so we're not wasting on our own.
Absolutely.
We need to take accountability for that.
Yes, and that's the key word. That's what I love, accountability. And I think in 2020, it's really time for us to be more accountable in that priority. When we shift our budgets to allow for access to food, accessible food that's healthy for us. But of course, we drain ourselves so much by gadgets and distractions that we are depleting our energy to even nourish our bodies properly.
Right.
You know, that's how these fast food chains are making billions upon billions of dollars, especially in our community, because a child will go to school, they'll stop at that local corner store, mm-hmm. they'll get that dollar oatmeal cream pie, you know what I'm talking about,
yes.
and not just Little Debbie's, the knockoff brands, whatever it is to sustain them, and then sugar keeps them up, and then now we're dealing with ADHD, things like that we're being labeled, our children are being labeled because of the activity and lack thereof, mm-hmm. you know, the sugar highs and lows,
right.
things like that need to be exposed and concentrated on. You understand?
Yes, and that's a sad epidemic too. That's a part of the chain that we're going through.
Right.
We're going through it when if we give our children like healthy snacks, here's some raisins or something like that. Here's some bananas. Here's
right.
something like that. It's something that we as a community can provide to help them, which I've seen little things here and there, that will help them not be, so sugary.
Right. But what people understand, and as I have introduced this show, Look, Listen, Louisville, the priority needs to be placed also back with the people, and mm-hmm. I deal with society in our culture, and it's not that I'm excluding any other culture,
yes,
but I'm talking about African American culture, and are we really going to do that? Like, are we really going to sit down in our homes and really break down these meals? Are we going to really sit down in our homes and break down peanuts and raisins and things like that? We may do it for like a week.
Honestly, I can see
I mean,
that.
we really, we'll do it like a week, and then we're hit with a bill, we're hit with distractions, we're hit with so many things that allow us to get pulled away back into the comfort food,
right.
back into the quick gratification of our flesh. Let me just have a burger real quick. Oh, I'll get back on that treadmill tomorrow, or I'll get back on track tomorrow with my family. We'll eat 3 meals a day, this, that, and the third. But we're really not going to do that. And I want to expose why. Why do you think that is?
Comfort.
Mm-hmm.
Purely comfort. Because when you make a determination in your mind, you have to know that you have to stick with it. And I know a lot of it can be from stress. I mean, we live in a go, go, go society and me, and all this other stuff. When we get to something and we know it's going to be for the betterment of our community, for our society, and for us personally, we've got to learn to stick with it. Like we said, accountability. If you need an accountability partner, reach out to somebody. They may need you as well. We got to do this.
Right. Our culture has to become more accountable for our issues. And that's why my subject matter is really based in our urban community, because we really have to deal with this.
Yes.
We have to deal with this, and just look at all the topics we just stemmed out of the word food. Mm-hmm. I mean, we're talking about stress. You understand? We're talking about complacency. We're talking about not the stick-to-itiveness of a pattern, say. You know, because our children, the next generation, always models after that pattern. And we never establish great patterns. We have no consistency. You know, we start with accountability, then you got the big C, consistency. We never remain consistent in what we're doing, and there's a reason for that. And I believe we'll talk about this again. I'm sorry, we're talking about really traditional stuff. Right. You know, excuse me for the brain delay, because I have so many thoughts about this, because I've always said I had a bad relationship with food. I have been on the weight, you know, my weight has always went up and down all my life, you know, all my years as a teenager and as a young adult. Mm-hmm. I was athletic at one time. I would play sports in school, things like that. Then I got injured. And so, you know, like you said, stress and things in life start to, you know, allow me to ignore my body. Right. You know, I ignored what I was actually feeding myself. And I do believe a lot of our food and the things that we intake allow for triggers. Yes. It triggers different things, and it puts a spin on different things. And this hunger statistic really bothers me as well, because this 40 million, are we a part of that million? You think, Lisa, do we fall in that part of, I mean, really, if I look in my refrigerator right now, I don't really have a whole lot, and that's why, because I don't go grocery shopping often. Right. I'm always on the go. I'm always working. You understand? I'm depleting my body of the actual nutrients that it really needs to have the energy to continue to move. I'm doing quick moves, quick meals. Somebody else is preparing my meals that may not have the same energy or the love to put into that meal, so now I'm walking off with an attitude. Yeah. Think about it. You know, food comes with love, you know, as we're preparing it and things like that. And like you said before, taking off those chain reactions in our culture when we handle food and the food waste. That's our primary thing, is that we're wasting so much. We're buying so much, but yet we're wasting in other areas. Mm-hmm. And we have to begin to define what our primary focus is when we're helping others as well. And the discriminatory behaviors is what stem the food conversation as well. People who are discriminated from getting food. Oh, yes. Now, you mentioned yesterday, Lisa, a gentleman that was upset about having to jump through hoops. Yes. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about jumping through hoops just to get to food, get to some nourishment. Yeah. What are some of those obstacles that people have?
Just seeing it, and you know, for myself, what this friend of mine, you know, had basically discussed. You know, he's like, you know, first of all, you have to have your ID, you have to have your, you know, sometimes you have to have your income, like right. How many people live in your house. I mean, all these things just to say, I need a meal. Right. It's not all places require all the same information. Right. But to have all of this, why do you need all of that information if I just need some food? Right. I'm not saying that I'm going to be here for the next 7 days. I'm not saying I need all that, but as a human being, I need all of this information to prove to you. Right. Listen,
Louisville. What do you think about that? I mean, our listeners, I'm pretty sure this conversation, we're kind of struggling through this conversation because when you look at it, you have to look at how it affects you. Right. And I think this is what brings it so home for me and doing this topic is because you really have to look at yourself. You really have to look at what it is that you can do to prevent from these certain things happening, and then who would you be willing to advocate for? Not just a homeless person that's on the street that needs food, but just the strategies that we need to allow for our food costs to